So we will go over Setting in The Machine Stops by E.M. Forster. Now, obviously, very important to note, the setting of the story is taking place in this machine. So I would say describing Vashti's room is definitely important. We can say the story's exposition. Remember, that's the first part of the structure. The story's exposition opens with, and basically the whole story, well, a good amount of the story, will take place in Vashti's room. Now, what else can we learn about our setting? What does the rest of the world look like? Well, other things, the context of our setting, right? There's a lot of context here. We get the idea that Vashti doesn't move around a lot. She's described as this lump, white as fungus. So she's obviously not going outside a lot. And then she knows several thousand people. In certain directions, human intercourse had advanced enormously. We want to try to figure out what that means, okay? And when she's saying, I will isolate myself. So her son calls and she's talking to him saying, I will isolate myself. So we know that people in this machine are using obviously Wi-Fi. It's like remote. Even Vashti is literally a remote teacher, somewhat like myself. Other things that would be important about the setting. So people communicate virtually online, right? Except at the time the story was written, the internet was not even invented. So for Forrester to be inventing like FaceTime, that's what the blue plate would be, like a face would appear. It was pretty advanced. That's why this story is known as one of the best science fiction stories of all time. This elaborate setting. We know the Earth is now brown, and we also know that people are only going outside with respirators because the air is not breathable. So we could almost say, um, what does the scenery look like? So we could say the, and I don't want to put the number. The Earth is described as brown, and when people need to go to the Earth's surface, they have to wear a respirator to breathe. This Earth can be described as a desolate, uninhabitable planet where people must reside in a machine, in a the machine. Actually, I'll say the machine. And notice that the machine is always capitalized because it is a proper noun. It's very important as we go on. All right, so the Earth's surface is only dust and mud. So we literally have a Earth where no one is living on the surface. The people are living underground in this machine. They can utilize airships, but they don't. So the technology exists to go to the surface, but people choose not to. All right, and then we could just high technology here. There's buttons and switches. Everything is brought to them. Filled with a warm deodorized liquid. So even a bathtub pops out. And we have communicate. That's how she communicates with her friends. So Vashti's friends are all online. Even her son, she's not communicating with him in person. Now, here are other things in the setting. The clumsy system of public gatherings has long since been abandoned. So, whatever has happened in society, well, we know that the earth has become uninhabitable. But even if the earth wasn't inhabitable, people are still in this machine, right? So, they could still be gathering together, but they don't. So, we could say society has become antisocial. Um, Physical contact has become uh, taboo or stigmatized almost. Another. All right. So we have this living in this machine, and if we were going to ask, well, what's happening in the rest of the world? This is the world. So everywhere, everything is the same. For beds were the same dimensions all over the world. And to have an alternative size would have involved vast alterations in the machine. So everyone is provided with the same exact environment all around the world. Other things we learn. There's a government. It's called the Central Committee. It's going to come up a lot. So the Central Committee would go along with the setting, because we could say in this society, wait, what was our other question here? We have how far in the future? That's where it gets into the part about Vashti's being eyes and or not having hair or teeth, because people would evolve not going outside. Um, and then wait, I want to do the type of government. So people are governed by the Central Committee, and we'll find more about them. And everything all over the world is standardized, including the beds. All right. So there's not a lot of choice. People have given up this freedom of going to the earth if they wanted to. People have given up spending time together in person in the same proximity with each other. People have given up being able to request a certain size bed or furniture. Everything is standardized, unison. All right. And as we go on, how do families function? It would say that for families, and what's Vashti's duty as a mother? All right, this is a big one. So when children are born in this society, in this futuristic setting, they are go to a nursery, and then they're assigned where they're going to live. So once you reach adulthood, you would be assigned a person to procreate with, possibly, but not live with. So, parents' duties. Vashti, there's no mention of Kuno's dad. And Vashti does not mention Kuno's dad because people only are together, couple, when the Central Committee sends them somewhere and picks their partner. And then when the mother has a child, the child ends up going to this nursery being raised by others, nannies, and Vashti was home. So going back to her job as an online music teacher or music lecturer. She's not even teaching the instruments. She's talking about the types of music. So that is important to know for the society. They don't even have relationships with there's no more marriages. There's no more nuclear families. That would be important. And the only reason people travel is when the machine tells them where they're going to be moving or if they're going to be having a relation with someone for the purpose of having a baby and then no other contact. And then, so Vashti in this section, she leaves her room. So the machine, the setting switches. And the way that the earth is described is basically all looking exactly the same. And the people in this society have lost their physical strength and agility from constantly being in these rooms. So when she comes across passengers on this airship, and the one guy can't even pick up his book. It's saying they stopped. The thing was unforeseen. And the man, instead of picking up his property, felt the muscles of his arm to see how they had failed him. Then someone actually said with direct utterance, "We shall be late." So that is, it's even weird to just talk with people. So as she's on the airship, there is an airship attendant, like a flight attendant, and she does a good job, her character, of showing the difference between the people that never interact. Her job has her as a flight attendant, but all the other people, passengers like Vashti, they are people in the machine. People were almost exactly alike all over the world, but the attendant of the airship, perhaps owing to her exceptional duties, had grown a little out of the common. She had often to address passengers with direct speech, and this had given her a certain roughness and originality of manner. So, the setting of this story, people do not talk to each other. They, or not in person. They communicate through the machine, either like a FaceTime call or emailing type text situation. They are not interacting in person. And that could be the context of the setting. We have a futuristic society where the earth is charred. It doesn't exactly mention that there was a nuclear attack. Some science fiction stories will give this hint that whatever happened was like a war, or a nuclear apocalypse. They'll mention like radiation. That's not mentioned by Forrester here. So we could say that he assumed that the earth would brown or dry out or go through some type of climate change like we see now. But we don't really know why Forrester, how he ended up predicting that. He just did. All right, so that was part one. And now we'll get into the whole story.